All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Reverend Show.
Hey.
Here we are. We're doing something we've never done before. We're live streaming our podcast. Since we're in quarantine, everyone seems to be live streaming everything. Have you ever live streamed before?
Never live streamed before.
I live streamed the other day. It was all right. I got like 2 people.
It was fun.
It's like I got like a little nervous because like, I don't know. It's like, is anyone going to tune in?
Yeah.
And it's definitely a blow to the ego when you're like, you think you're the shit, and then
only 2 people show up.
only 2 people show up. But we're still in quarantine. It's been like, well, we've been in. What the fuck are you doing?
Go ahead.
I'm talking to a fucking chair. Well, we're still. I'll talk to you, Ash. Our behind the scenes. 3 people, cool. Well, I'm not worried about that right now. We're still in quarantine, and it's been over a month, and I don't know. I mean, the governor said that there's pretty much that. I heard May 15th that it's what, April 20 something.
Yeah.
The governor said that. I heard May 15th, but the governor was pretty much like, yeah, we can't really give you a specific date because, you know, people should change. They said yesterday was the deadliest 24 hours.
That last week
45 people died in one day.
Yeah.
Or I think I'm undershooting it. It might be even higher than that.
Well, at the time of this recording, was the deadliest day. But they also said the whole week was like best to stay inside unless you really needed to go outside.
And here we are recording a podcast.
Yeah, well, because we really needed to do it.
We don't know how to use Zoom, so.
Yeah. We tried.
We only know how to use high-tech equipment. But quarantine has been like, I was telling you earlier, it's been like I've been using it as a time to like get a hold of my bad habits. Like, I've been eating better. I haven't been drinking or smoking weed or anything. I haven't really been partying at all. I've just been doing a lot of like reading. I've been working out a lot. Pretty much all the shit I've never done my entire life. I've been doing that. The last like 6 weeks, I've been like the best 6 weeks of my life.
Well, I mean, I guess it's the best time to do it, if any, would be now.
Well, I was funny because I was telling you earlier how I haven't, because I used to eat fast food a lot, especially when I had a car. I mean, I would hit the drive-thru a lot, a little too much. And so I gave up my car like 2 years ago, so that definitely like brought my consumption down.
Right.
But, you know, I still could walk into a McDonald's or a Jack in the Box or whatever. But then a lot of them are closed now. You can only do drive-through. So I haven't been able. I don't have a car.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I never really walk in because.
Well, you have a car.
Yeah. But I've never really noticed that, actually. I mean, I know you can't go into restaurants, but I never really, because, you know, I never paid.
Well, the restaurants are still doing like order to go and stuff.
Yeah. But
like, you know, there's just so many restrictions. So I haven't had fast food in a while. So I've been like, you know, trying to get strict on my diet and working out. And on Wednesday, my aunt sent me some money for my birthday, a little extra cash. And I was like, fuck it. What was that?
The wind.
The wind just did that?
Yeah. It's all hot as shit. No wind before we fucking record, and we start recording.
Yeah, it's hot as shit. Fuck you, Mike. You're a loser.
We're losers. Why?
So anyways, my aunt gave me some money, so I decided to order Uber Eats, right? And I ordered McDonald's for some reason. I don't know why I did that, but I love McDonald's, I guess. So I ate it, and I started to like, I don't know, like I saw this thing. I read something how there's actually like endorphins that trigger like dopamine and stuff like in your intestines, or like in, I don't know, that like, so when you eat bad food, it can like literally, you know how like you eat something and or you overeat or you eat like McDonald's, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
That you could act that like eating bad food actually affects your mood. Because there's actually like endorphin receptors. And
so is that it's supposed to help you not to do that again?
Well, that if you eat better, you feel better because there's actually stuff in your intestines that affects your mood.
Huh.
So, I have been noticing that like when I do eat like a vegetable really high in like veggies and protein, like I'll eat veggies and chicken, right? Something lean. I do feel like really good. Like I'll eat and I'll feel full, but I'll be like, woo! Like I don't know why. It's weird. Like it is weird. I get like this burst of energy. And so I ate the McDonald's the other day, and like I ate it, and then I started to feel kind of bad. But then I think I've told you this before. I've developed this irrational fear that someone's gonna dose me with like LSD or like
and
weed.
You're just gonna get surprisingly.
And like I'm gonna be like unwillingly. Mind you, I've done those drugs, but like. There's a reason why I don't do them anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So I have this weird, especially now with like the way weed, more laxed with weed, and like it's legal in Cali now, and I feel like people are a lot more loose about it, right? So I get like this weird like someone's gonna give me something that has weed in it and not tell me because they're like, oh, Chris Don smokes weed. You know, what's the big deal? That did happen to me once a while back. But
I remember you told that story on the podcast.
Yeah,
with the cake
and the cake. Yeah, and luckily it was a low dosage. But so I have this fear that like I honestly can't eat food unless I cook it myself.
Yeah.
Or like I buy it and it's packaged, so I know that it hasn't been tampered with. It's like this weird, like irrational fear that I've developed.
I wonder if that's a phobia.
I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's already something that's been happening to me like for a while.
Yeah.
And so I saw this video a couple of days ago. I watch a lot of like, you know, like. Just videos about like weird shit that's happened like throughout the decade. Throughout the years.
Yeah.
So I there's something called the Tylenol murders. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah, you were telling me. Yeah.
So my eye. So apparently, in the 80s, somebody in Chicago took the time to go into different stores in the Chicago area. Chicago's a big place, right? A big city. Different stores in the area. And they bought capsules of Tylenol, just regular Tylenol you take if you have a headache, right?
Yeah.
And they, I don't know how many bottles, but they took the time to inject the capsules with cyanide. Cyanide poisoning. And like, it was like 100% the amount that would be enough to kill you.
Yeah, lethal dosage.
Yeah, lethal dosage, 100% like of that. Like, you know, 100 times that or whatever.
That's
so and then he goes, or I don't know if they never figured out who did it, so it could have been a girl, but so then this person went back and then put the stuff back in these different locations, and then people bought the Tylenol, took it, and like 7 people died, right? In like a matter of days. And they did an investigation, and then they were like, oh, there's something in the Tylenol. They figured out that everyone was taking Tylenol, so they had to recall a bunch of Tylenol and this whole thing. Luckily, only 7 people died. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, and that they recalled all this Tylenol, and then they chemical checked everything and found like a certain amount of bottles with the cyanide poisoning. So luckily, only 7 people died. Unfortunately, of those 7 people, 3 of those people were 3 people from the same household, and they all died within 24 hours. They all took the Tylenol and they all died. Damn. So like, you know, imagine, you know, that's a fucking tragedy. You know, 3 people in your household dead in 24 hours. You know, through a fucking essentially being murdered.
That kind of makes me feel weird now about getting fucking.
Wow. So as you know, cyanide has. Smells like almonds, or something like that. Like,
I didn't
so
know
cyanide. Yeah, I didn't know that either until I saw the video.
Yeah.
So cyanide, it has like so if you ever smell almonds and there's no almonds around, you know, get worried.
Hey, wait a minute.
So
there's no almonds around here.
So I saw this video and it was pretty tragic, right? They never found out who did it.
Did it freak you out?
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
I just saw it and it was interesting, and that's actually why this was the sole reason now that certain that I think I don't know if certain products or all products have seal breaks.
Yeah.
So like, oh, if this seal,
So you could see
if this has been broken, don't. That means it's someone's opened it already.
Yeah.
Before that, they didn't exist.
Have that? Oh shit.
That was in the 80s. That wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
So like all through the 70s and 60s, they didn't have that. So you could just tamper with products.
Damn.
So anyways, fast forward the next day, right?
Yeah.
I'm eating my McDonald's. I scarf down my Big Mac, fries. I eat my 10-piece.
Scarf it down.
I went ham. So, and I'm drinking my tea, right? I get unsweetened iced tea because I'm trying to still keep my calorie count relatively low. Cause, even though I had a Big Mac meal and a 10-piece.
Yeah. You make sure you get that fucking unsweetened tea.
Right. Well, So I'm drinking my tea, right? And I knock it back, and I convince myself that I can taste almonds.
Oh my god!
And I start thinking, like, how do I know that some fucking disgruntled employee decides that I'm just gonna dose
fuck
this
this
shit.
guy who ordered the Big Mac and the fucking
And
chicken nuggets.
And I'm like, no, and my heart starts to beat faster, which
So you
is the
start having,
sign
like, a
that I'm
panic attack?
having a panic attack. And then even worse so is I'm home by myself. Ryan was gone and Sean was gone. So sometimes like when I've had panic attacks, and what I do is other than like control my breathing is I'll go and I'll talk to Sean or I'll talk to Ryan and like kind of get my mind off of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, so I'm like, oh shit, like I'm just gonna have to sit here with my fucking paranoid thoughts now, and I almost lost it, and like, that's it. So I don't know. Panic attacks are not fun, dude.
Damn.
And like I'm like, oh so now I'm like,
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die.
Looking at why did I order McDonald's? Then I start thinking about like how you're like, like how food affects your endorphins.
You know what's funny? Because when you told me that in the car, well, you didn't tell me that part of the story, but when you told me that, it started to make you feel all like
yeah,
you exaggerated on the like and I was like, man, what the fuck, like. He couldn't have
I thought
detoxed his whole body.
Yeah,
to like just
no, I thought I had ingested cyanide, and then I said, oh, and then I'm like, well, that's possible. But then I thought, oh, what if it's LSD? What you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Man, they give me free LSD at your McDonald's.
The only every time that I convince myself that I take out that I unknowingly might have taken LSD, I always tell myself, I've taken LSD before, so I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if it happens, just ride it out. Just accept it and just be like, okay, like.
I mean, I've never taken LSD before, it's acid, right?
Acid, yes.
Yeah, I've never taken acid before. I have taken shrooms. Are they similar or?
Man, I've taken a lot more shrooms than I have acid. I've only taken acid twice. But you know what's funny? Of all the hallucinogenics I've ingested, acid, weed, and mushrooms, and make no mistake, weed is a hallucinogenic. Edibles or even smoking, like blunts, have given me the worst panic attacks.
Really?
Yes, like. I don't know what it is, like, and that's why I understand, like, when people are like, I don't like to smoke weed, like, I get it, like, because I've been there, like, because I don't know, I have like a love-hate. Sometimes I love weed, and sometimes I can't handle it, you know. So I go back and forth. As of now, I can't handle it, which is why I stopped smoking.
When I took shrooms, it was fun up until the ending. Is when I had the same panic attack attacks I get with weed. Yeah, which is like just heart pounding, thinking it's never gonna go away.
Yeah. That's definitely a thought I've had. Is like, I'm gonna. What if I never come down? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, I think I've said this before. Whenever I do have those type of panic attacks, I always say, it's just the drugs, and I kind of talk myself down. Okay, the drugs are gonna wear off, and then eventually. So to me, the other day when I started to sort of kind of have a little bit, to me that was even scarier because I was like, well, what if I'm not on drugs? Now I'm just losing it for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
Now my mind is just going and I don't know why.
Now I'm just losing it, and
damn, is that scarier?
Yes, to me that's a lot scarier because there's no justification. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So luckily that hasn't happened. But
it's like those stories of people seeing ghosts and thinking they're losing their mind. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's like.
Huh? Oh, it turned off.
We lost a live.
We lost a laugh.
Son of a bitch.
But people were saying, is it too hot? They say it's hot as fuck. I can't believe you guys.
Yeah.
Who was on the podcast? I mean, who was on the live?
Orland, Mikey,
our loyal listeners.
Yeah.
Who?
Angry something.
Oh, that's cool that they fucking tuned in.
Yeah.
You had 9 viewers at first.
And then it went down. That's pretty good. That's more than I got the other day.
Yeah. Can you
might as well just unplug it then.
Yeah. So everyone who was listening earlier, thank you so much.
You'll thanks for tuning in. That was sort of last minute idea.
Yeah. We'll try to do it again. It looks like it might be a thing. I think we could do it. I think we could pull it off.
All right.
What you could do is we could probably bring it back on at the end of the podcast. If you could just put it inside where the AC is on, and it'll cool down.
We'll do it like next time. We'll do it. We're gonna have to do the podcast at night now.
Yeah.
But anyway, you got any interesting stories other than me losing it after eating McDonald's?
Well, you talked about the DC universe, right?
I called you the other day and I was like, what did it say? What does it say?
It just says temperature. iPhone needs to cool down before you can use it.
Oh, yeah, just let it cool down. Piece of shit phone. I was watching Man of Steel the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I watched Justice League. And I just started to think about how the DCU started in one place and ended in a completely different place.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Marvel MCU fan. I love, I really, especially like, they refer to now that first 10 years, what they call it the Infinity Saga now.
Yeah.
And it's weird, we were watching Thor the other day, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first saw it, I didn't like it. And I was like, Thor, it's just not a relatable character to me.
Mm-hmm.
But now that Thor has had this whole like character development, and
he was made vulnerable in the last 3 movies.
Exactly. He turned into this really sort of like, he lost a lot, and he faced a certain amount, a large amount of adversity, probably the most out of any of the Avengers. He lost everything.
Yeah.
And so watching Thor now, knowing what happens to him, I don't know, for some reason I enjoyed the movie a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I got to go back and watch it then.
Anyways, but going back to the DCU, so, you could say the same thing for the MCU. Is like the MCU started in one place, and over time, it really sort of found its footing.
Yeah.
And, when you look at an Endgame and Infinity War, like, it, came so far, and they really sort of hashed everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And they took the time to hash everything out, and it worked. And they got their footing, because it was phase 1 was a little shaky.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that there was with as many sort of Easter eggs they planted to set up future movies and future what do they call it, crossovers.
Yeah,
there was a lot of stuff that never came to pass.
Yeah, there is a few things.
I think at the end of the first Guardians of the Galaxy, they make, in the post-credit scene, they make a reference to Adam, what's his name? Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
Who, if you read the comics, he, in the Infinity, when it comes to the Gauntlet and the Stones and that whole Infinity Saga that comes to pass in the MCU, if you read the comics, Adam Warlock has a humongous role.
Yeah. I can tell you,
And
what happened really, like
as to why they never used him.
Yeah, and like the difference between
Doctor Strange sort of took his role in the MCU. What the Adam Warlock role, Doctor Strange sort of Doctor Strange was in the Infinity arc in the comics, but his role was more side character, and Doctor Strange was really, Warlock was really like the Doctor Strange character in the
what they used him for. In
and then they used Doctor Strange.
They pretty much just swapped the roles, or gave Doctor
Strange. Well, they
gave
Doctor Strange the Warlock role, really.
Just combine those two characters.
Yeah,
but the huge difference between the DC and the MCU is like what you said. See how like they introduced Adam Warlock, and then in the end they decided not to.
They didn't use him.
Maybe they might use him in the future because they still left it open. He's still out there. He's still out there in the MCU. But as these movies are being made and written, and I did when I did a little reading on this, is they allow the directors, and they have the studio doesn't take complete control over what is going on. They allow Kevin Feige and they have trust in Kevin Feige and who he trusts, and Kevin Feige trusts his directors, and then they go and they and their writers and they go and collaborate on what's going on, and they also do this while the movie is being filmed and written. They don't do it post. And the issue that DC has is they do it post most of the time.
They do. I'm sorry. Do what post?
Like they decisions on. We don't like this.
Well, so that's what I was gonna get at. Going back to the DCU is, the DCEU. Sorry, you can't. You know why they can't say DCU?
Because it's comic book related, or
because there is already a DCU. The DC universe, but it refers to the animated universe in the 90s, like Justice League, Batman, Superman Adventures, Batman Adventures, Justice League, Justice League Unlimited, and I think a couple other that I can't remember at the time. Anyway, so I believe that's why. Yeah. Because DCU is so, and they might even use it to refer to the comic books. I'm not sure. Anyways, the DCEU in comparison to Marvel. And that's another thing too, is Marvel really was the first to really successfully pull off the crossover universe and have all these movies amalgamate into, these huge crossovers. You know what I'm saying? And they did it right, and they had time to do it.
Well, also DC kind of put themselves in a bad position, not just with like the movies, because not only were they competing with Marvel, they were also competing against themselves. If you kind of take a look, if you look closely at their television series, which I used to watch the Flash.
CW.
Yeah, they started with the Arrowverse.
But Marvel kind of did that too with the Netflix thing.
But if you look at it though, Marvel did that after the movies came out.
The CW thing happened before DC.
I
didn't know that.
Arrowverse came out before. They call it the Arrowverse, which that happened before the DC movies started coming out. Before, 'cause if you really want to pinpoint where DC started with their whole universe, right, it would be Man of Steel. And
yes, exactly, 100%.
And Man of Steel came out, I believe, maybe you can correct me on this, but it might be 4 to 6 years before Man of Steel came out. Right. So they already had about 4 to 6 years to establish themselves as a TV universe, as where Man of Steel was already. They were already competing against not only themselves as a television show, but they were competing against Marvel, which was already huge at that time. Right. And
when did Man of Steel come out? Because Iron Man 1 came out in 2008, I believe.
Yeah, we could look that up.
Okay. So while you're looking that up, if you look at Man of Steel, DC and another thing too is when Man of Steel came out, they didn't say this is the start of the DCU.
No, they didn't.
They sort of, if you realize, Man of Steel took a lot of beats from the Nolan.
Okay, real quick, 2013.
Okay, that's when Man of Steel came out. Okay, so Man of Steel took a lot of beats from the Nolan Batman.
There's okay, well, so God, you brought that up.
So, if you notice, it's darker, it's grittier. The Dark Knight trilogy really put a lot of influence on comic book movies and comic book adaptions because they did it in a more realistic way. They They ridded it. Is that a word? They ridded it. That sounds wrong to me.
They got rid of.
They ridded themselves of any camp, no camp whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was super serious, super based in realism. There was no jokes. There was a couple zingers here and there as maybe as like callbacks, you know.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's pretty much about 98% serious.
And that was the direction
right.
Zack Snyder wanted to take.
No, so I don't know. So yeah, so.
Or did they just
my point is, so if you look at Man of Steel,
yeah.
You know, it's very serious. It's hard to base it too much in realism because Superman's an alien and he's from another planet, you know, and this and that. So, you know, there's already supernatural or science fiction elements to it.
Which is what I was going to bring up is that's another point to bring.
But look at how they called it Man of Steel. They didn't call it Superman, they called it Man of Steel. Just the way they didn't call the sequel to Batman Begins 2. They called it Dark Knight. They ridded themselves of the Batman moniker, and they said the Dark Knight because they wanted it to. I don't know why they did. They just wanted it to be super serious. This isn't Batman. This isn't Batman Forever. This isn't. You know. This is. It's almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I at least from what I think, maybe because they already had that Dark Knight series, which already put them into position not only to compete against Marvel, but now they have to kind of, because they already gave people that almost like a standard as to what
was
they
the
were gonna
sequel
try
to
and
Man
put
of Steel? Was it Batman vs Superman, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Man of Steel came out, you know, I'm a firm believer that they called it Man of Steel to sort of steal that sort of beat from Nolan. We're like, this is serious. This is a serious adaptation. They're gonna rid themselves of camp. You know, like, you know.
Well, because, you know, the Dark Knight, that whole Christopher Nolan was super, you know, everyone, you know, it was appraised as such a great trilogy, right?
For sure.
And
still is.
And yeah, exactly. So if you're already known for that, you can't just switch over to just acting, you know, because then people are going to see you're just copying Marvel. So I think DC had no choice but to kind of follow Christopher Nolan's standard. So
and also too, you know, when Man of Steel came out, there was, like I said, there was no word of the DCEU being a thing, but Marvel had already started sort of the crossover. You know, they had started already crossing over their movies through cutscenes, and they were establishing the event not through cutscenes, through post-credit scenes, and they're establishing all these, like, oh, pretty soon we're going to cross everything over in a shared universe.
What it looks like is that they just had no plan.
They didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
And so then they did Batman versus Superman, right? They recasted Batman. And it was like, okay, Man of Steel, okay, that's, okay, forget the Nolan thing, that's his own thing. Man of Steel, that's the start. Okay. We move into Batman versus Superman, right? And then what? Wonder Woman and this and that. And the thing is whereas Marvel started the MCU, it was okay. Phase 1 was okay, but they found their footing, you know, and they managed to make it work. DC, I think, did the opposite. They started strong, and then they started to sort of get nervous because there's already such a huge established rivalry between Marvel and DC. So going back they were like, well, we need to catch up to Marvel because if we don't, instead of taking their time, they're like, we need to get to it because if not, by the time we get to our big crossover event, Marvel's going to be on their fucking, you know, they're going to be in phase 7.
Which is kind of weird, too, because, like, DC is already established. I mean, Marvel and DC are established, no doubt, already, yeah. So people were going to watch it regardless. It's just weird that they would rush it out.
The thing is like, you know, I liked, you were saying how that you gave John Mejia, you gave him a lot of shit for liking Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
I like Batman versus Superman. And there's like a director's cut, a longer cut.
Yeah.
That supposedly makes it better and like that makes the story. Have you ever seen that? I never seen it.
I haven't seen it either, but a lot of DC movies that has seemed to be the rumors or like people talking about that behind the scenes, that like the same thing with what's that movie? what the fuck? The one with all the criminals get together.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. That one, there's rumors that Jared Leto had a great performance.
Yeah,
but they cut out all his scenes
for sure.
And they're saying
Jared Leto, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
He really got the short end of the stick on that one.
Yeah.
Like DC completely fucked him
and now
over.
he's painted as this guy who is just like angry and
like he's all douched out and like this and that and but like I don't know, he
did kind of go about it a little.
You could say like because he tried to do his own thing.
Yeah.
He didn't but he was coming off the Heath Ledger performance, which was like, the guy was like, and then he died, so he's like a martyr now.
Yeah, I know. And then everybody holds the Joker.
And then you can say, well, look at Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. He was managed to, but Joaquin didn't have the Jared Leto performance. He was coming off Jared Leto's performance. Yes. He didn't have someone to fuck it up, and then they're all great actors. I don't want to. Jared Leto was a good actor. Dallas Buyers Club is one of like my favorite movies. And what the fuck was I gonna say? DC, they made a lot of changes. I like Batman versus Superman. I liked it. I still like it. I watch it and I like it. I like the tension between Batman. I like Affleck as Batman.
I like Affleck.
I like Henry Cavill. I like him as Superman. Mm-hmm. I thought they had a great chemistry. The only part I didn't like was the ending when they go up against what's his name? Doomsday. Again, it's very, very forced.
Yeah.
Also, they could have saved that for the Justice League.
Because they kind of treat that as a
because Doomsday's a big deal. Mm-hmm. They could have saved that for the Justice League. Mm-hmm. The Justice League movie.
Yeah.
But how they would have ended it, I don't know. But
another thing that was weird was Lex Luthor's character.
Yeah, they
made him almost like it was almost like Joker-esque.
Yeah,
like Riddler.
That I don't get.
Yeah,
but I don't know. They tried to give it in a new direction. I don't even think about Lex Luthor when I think about that movie. Like,
that's what kind of bothers me about that movie.
DC, they tried to rush it, so they were cramming a shitload of stuff in a movie or in one movie. They had Batman versus Superman. They have Batman going heads with Superman.
Yeah.
Then they have Lex Luthor, who's another, villain. And then they have Doomsday, who's another villain. That's 3 confrontations in one movie in 2 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think because the Man of Steel has always been criticized for not having enough action and was more of a drama than it was
I like
superhero action. No, yeah, but a lot of people, like especially comic book fans, like people who are like hardcore, like
look at Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman had a one linear storyline. It was her, and she goes up against Ares.
The biggest difference, though, between these movies that DC have done, like the ones that failed at least, or that get a lot of shit talked about, like not Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, Justice League. The biggest difference between them and Wonder Woman is that the director of Wonder Woman, she had complete control of what was going to happen.
Right, and they let it be. And that's another thing, too, is I don't know about Batman vs. Superman. Mm-hmm. Well, I think so because there is a director's cut. But, like you said, the producers or whoever really, try to backpedal in post-production. Mm-hmm. Like with Justice League, they have the Snyder cut, right?
Yeah.
And I was hearing some video and they were saying like they'll probably never release the Snyder cut because that's essentially DC admitting that they fucked up, right? So, I think what they did is they backpedal too much, and then if you see Justice League and you see Suicide Squad, they try too hard to be like Marvel because Marvel. They sort of yes, it was serious. Yes, they had great actors to portray their heroes, and they had a lot of good drama and character development. But then they also had jokes, and there was sort of a lot of sort of meta humor in it.
Yeah, I heard.
And they tried to cram that in.
Yeah.
And they should have just said, fuck Marvel, we're going to do our thing, keep it dark. That's how DC has always been. They've been way less campy than Marvel.
Which, like, it kind of sucks because now, well, at least for people that are trying to watch it, like myself, I consider myself a casual movie goer, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have had two superhero universes to watch. I would have had the Infinity Saga, and then whatever the Justice League would have been.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I don't even think like. And then when did Aquaman come out? That came out after Justice League.
I believe.
Yeah,
yes,
it did. And then Shazam came out, right? I didn't really like Shazam.
You didn't like Shazam?
Shazam got a lot of. I didn't like it. I don't know.
I like it
because at that point they had made the full turn into like more like let's be funnier, let's be more family friendly.
Aquaman came out 2 years ago.
Okay.
2018, and Shazam
came out 2019.
Oh my god. Yeah, 2019.
So now So let's just say, and then there's Wonder Woman 1984. Mm-hmm. So now what I'm confused about is like you have Wonder Woman coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Gal Gadot. So obviously it's taking place in the DCEU universe, right?
Yeah.
But then you have the new Joker movie, and then you have the new Batman movie that's coming out. That these are standalones. These are not part of the shared universe.
Well, so Shazam, they do have like Easter eggs that.
Yeah, because Shazam is part of the DCEU. I'm saying after Wonder Woman, is that it? Is that the end? And they're just going to continue with these one shots? Or are they going to do two where it's like, DC, these one shot movies, and then because Batman isn't going to. Affleck is not playing Batman anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I think Cavill, we don't even know if he's going to be Superman anymore.
Well, if somebody picks up like creative control, like somebody that gets put in a position.
And what happens with Leto?
Yeah. So what could happen if?
And also the Birds of Prey movie came out, and
that one.
What?
I think people weren't even like watching it. I think it didn't even do that well.
I heard it was pretty good.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I know it wasn't doing that well because people didn't know what the fuck Birds of Prey was. And then they had to change it to Harley Quinn.
Right. I feel like that's not true because I'm a pretty casual.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know what the hell it was.
I'm a pretty casual comic book reader. Like, and I say that as in like I don't read that many comic books. My superhero knowledge comes mostly from TV and movies. And like the 90s and like cartoons and stuff. But I knew what Birds of Prey was.
I didn't know at all, and I don't read.
I had heard of
books.
At least.
Yeah.
But even still, like Harley Quinn is in Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is part of the DCU. So if Birds of Prey is that part of DCU, it's just confusing.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
Suicide
I'm like,
Squad.
they, like MCU, like they started, and other than the characters on the properties they didn't own, like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, which they eventually got a hold of.
Yeah, well that's what I was going to say.
They had stumbles here and there, but they stuck to their guns and they kept the universe, and it all worked out eventually.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like when Marvel started, they didn't have Spider-Man. They still don't have the mutant. Well, they didn't have the mutants. Now they do.
They do now.
Yeah, they have X-Men. And there was movies prior to that before Iron Man came out. There was, the X-Men series that, is debatable what's good and what's not good. And then Spider-Man, they had that series with what's his name, Tobey Maguire.
Right. But I'm talking about once Marvel Studios started the MCU, they stuck to their guns.
Yeah.
And they whether a movie did great or not, they just,
Well, they've had nothing but success after Iron Man. I mean, can you really say they didn't?
I mean, like, I guess financially, but, like, not all the movies were, like, well-received.
Yeah,
like,
but,
Thor was all right. First Avengers was all right.
But to movie studios.
Now, within the entire universe, with the whole within the context of the whole universe, those movies I think are a lot better. But I think when they first came out, some of them, are kind of cheesy and kind of, they're kind of cliche.
Yeah, but it was a new thing. It's still a new thing. They were still finding their groove, so to speak. And I think that's what DC is in that phase right now. And they need, and the only thing is that DC
they've
didn't
already deviated from the DCU by making the Joker movie and by making a new Batman movie.
So their issue isn't that they have their products sold to different companies. Their issue
is that they looked at like that meme with Mr. Bean where it's that guy taking a test and Mr. Bean's looking over.
Yeah.
Then Marvel looks and they're like. Like that's DC right now.
That
they didn't know. They got scared. Then Marvel scared them, and they started making.
But that's not the only.
Decisions.
That's not the only issue. The issue is, yes, there's that. Then there's also they're not trusting their directors. They need somebody in creative control who can say, hey, this is what we're doing, and then trust their directors and their writers.
They destroyed Josh Whedon's fucking reputation because they brought him in after Snyder to do the Justice League, and then Justice League got fucking annihilated.
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, it's Josh Whedon's
fault. That was
fault.
an unfortunate event though because Zack Snyder's daughter passed away, and they needed to get a replacement director. But they also still like
but didn't you say that was what came out? But you think that might have just been like a ruse? Not to say that she didn't die or what happened it wasn't tragic, but they used that as the way to not make them look like Snyder, DC used that as a way to like, wow, we're respecting his time of mourning.
Yeah, so there's a rumor.
They really respected it. They would have been like, well, we're gonna let him do his thing, and when he's ready to come back, then we're gonna continue because we believe in Zack Snyder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was a rumor. I did bring that up a while back.
But they focused too much on being in a race with Marvel.
Yeah, they
fucked
did.
that up. They shouldn't have done that.
They did. They did that. And then, like I said, the universe. Like if you look at the way Marvel treats the TV series, all their TV series they have, and their universe, they kind of try to keep them separate, as much as they can.
Right. Well, but the Netflix universe is technically part of the MCU universe.
Yes.
They do reference the MCU.
They do, but they try to keep.
By the
them
way,
separate.
I think Daredevil is one of the greatest shows ever made.
It was
fucking good. Daredevil was. I mean,
the other day my parents were watching Iron Fist, and I was like, "Oh, did you guys watch Daredevil?" They're like, "What? What's Daredevil?" Yeah, and I go, "You guys are watching the worst."
Is that the worst
series?
one?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's debatable on which one you think is the worst
Daredevil.
one. Well, there's debate on which one you think is the worst one. But a lot of people think it's Iron Fist or what's that other one with the
I think Daredevil has one of the best intro theme songs ever.
Yeah.
Like shows these days don't really have theme songs, especially on TV. They that's not really a thing.
Well, because they're trying to get you to the point.
But man, that theme song for Daredevil, it set the tone every fucking time.
Anyway, what I was trying to get at is the way Marvel treats us. They kind of keep them separate. They do reference each other, but more as Easter eggs than actual like physical characters as to what they're going to show. But the way DC did, where they shot themselves in the foot, is where the Arrowverse, they introduced the Flash, they introduced Supergirl, they introduced the Legends of Tomorrow.
So now you got two Flashes.
Yeah, exactly. So now you got two Flashes, and then I think like if you go back to how Marvel handled this, is where when the Runaways were gonna come out, or I think it was the Runaways. So there was. What's the other?
Oh, and you know what's funny is I didn't even think about how the ABC. With like Agent Carter, but those are directly connected to the MCU.
They brought up they were gonna bring up. I forgot. It's not the Runaways, but there's another like mutant type characters that got brought up in the Agent Carter or the Marvel Agents series, and Marvel was
there's
gonna
Shield.
Yeah. Okay. So Shield. It was Shield. I know it was Shield. It was.
And Marvel Agents is different.
I'm not sure. I think it's Shield Marvel Agents. I think that's what the show's called. But anyway, I don't really watch it.
And then Agent Carter.
Yeah, and then Agent Carter.
I almost want to watch Agent Carter because I like the guy who plays the young Howard Stark. He comes out in Avengers 1. Right. I like the way he plays. He kind of has like a Howard Hughes, like kind of like playboy, kind of douchey.
Yeah. Well, that's the Starks for you.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I kind of and also I hear it's a pretty good show though too.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to my point.
And also the guy who plays Jarvis. Who eventually would become a Vision.
Didn't they make a show of him?
He came out in Endgame. He had a small cameo in Endgame.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, anyway, back to my point. Marvel, whatever was gonna, there was a group of superheroes from the comics that they were gonna bring into the MCU during the Infinity Saga. That got brought up in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And so they scrapped the idea. And I remember like it was
so
a
they
big
said
thing.
like fuck it, let's keep it separate.
Yeah, because what happened in the show is that they didn't it's not, I don't know what happened exactly, that they did it in the show and how the studio works, and somebody pretty much jumped the gun on the TV show. Like one of the writers or whatever happened, somebody okayed it that wasn't supposed to okay it, and it came out in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so now the Marvel was like, oh, what, they were pretty much like, what the fuck, we're gonna put that in the movies,
right?
And so they pretty much let the show have it,
and then they were like, okay,
we'll scrap
it. But
it.
see, the DCEU and the Arrowverse are not connected though.
But that's the thing. They're both DC though.
Yeah, but they're not connected though. Yeah. It's established that the TV and the movies are connected.
But okay, so yeah, they're not.
So
connected.
yeah, to double them up would be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, but it also gives people this like preconceived, like it gives you a standard now. So now you're expecting to see what you have on TV on the movies. So like you're gonna compare Grant Gustin's Flash to the DC.
For sure. And the stupid thing is like, stupid DC, they owned all their characters.
Yeah,
like they didn't. The only reason Marvel had to deal with what they had to deal with is because they had sold off a lot of their characters in the '90s because they were going bankrupt. They didn't have a choice. So, but what was I gonna say? But there's also rumor that in the next Spider-Man, that there's gonna be Matt Murdock cameo. Now the question is,
who's Matt Murdock?
That's Daredevil.
Oh shit!
Now the question is it gonna be homie from the Netflix? I think it should be. Should be because he's so good at playing Daredevil. Yeah. Season 1 of Daredevil is probably one of the best first seasons of any show ever. Yeah. But what I like about Daredevil is unlike DC, where they sort of had like the movies with a much more like dark gritty feel, or at least they started that way, and the Arrowverse was a little bit more campy. I think it's a little bit more campy.
Arrowverse is dark. Oh well, it depends on what show you're talking about.
I know Arrow started as dark, but once like Flash and everything came in, and started to cross over. I think it started to become a lot more campy.
Well, I'll tell you this much: when I watched the Flash, I thought it was cheesy, and I enjoyed the story. And then as like once we start, now they're in like the 6th season, or what are they? What season are they in? 6. So now they're in the 6th season, and I'm kind of over it. Like it's too.
6 seasons is too much.
Yeah.
5, cap it.
Yeah.
If something has 9, 10 seasons, I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah, and all the shows kind of seem to have that feel to it, like where it is kind of cheesy, but the Arrowverse kind of set the tone for like the whole dark, because sometimes the Flash can be pretty dark.
I mean, as dark as the CW.
Yeah.
But my point is, Daredevil is, I mean, they pull no punches. Yeah. That's what I liked about it. Is it was tremendously violent.
But I mean, it's Netflix.
Right, yeah. But I mean, still Marvel though. It's still.
You know what's cool
produced
about that being on Netflix is that you get all of that. You get the Marvel series and you get the DC series.
Well, not anymore because everything's moving over to Disney.
Well, whatever the at least for now.
The only Marvel movie on there now is Infinity
War.
No.
I'm talking like the TV series. Like all the TV series for Marvel are still on Netflix, as well as the Arrowverse. So you kind of get both on there.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about DC, Arrowverse, and the Marvel ABC.
So I don't know. I'm pretty sure Netflix has some kind of like good contract with.
So my question is, going back to the DCEU, is what is the future of DCEU?
I can tell you what I think. I think they can still fix this. I think that they don't have to necessarily start over, maybe with a few characters. But I think they can fix it, because if Marvel did it without characters that they owned, they can do it with all their characters that they own.
Right. Yeah. But they're going to have to retcon a bunch of shit.
Some stuff.
So at this point, post Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
No, let's just say post Shazam. Post Shazam,
Mm-hmm.
because that was kind of like where DC kind of stopped, and it was like everything kind of went up in the air,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So Birds of Prey came out, or Harley Quinn came out, right? I haven't seen it. I want to see it because
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to see like how much do they connect it to the DCEU, or do they try their best to sort of make it a standalone?
Well, you've seen Shazam, right?
Yes.
Shazam. Do you remember the ending where like, oh shit, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
We'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if you're still
Okay.
here, fuck you. Okay, go.
So at the end, remember all his siblings or adopted siblings.
Right. They all
they all
turned
turned
to
to Shazam.
the Marvel family.
Yeah. So they could just pick up from there. Maybe start a story from there. The Shazam they can use. I mean, if
Well,
you
how
remember,
connected was Shazam to the DCEU?
it wasn't really.
But they did reference it.
They did reference it, but they didn't. They did what Marvel did, where they just gave Easter eggs and you give you hints that it's connected.
Mm-hmm.
So they can use Shazam almost the way they did Iron Man, because Iron Man wasn't a household comic book name, right?
Right.
Iron Man
Iron Man was like a B character for a while.
And Shazam seems to be popular, at least with the casual crowd that goes. That
Yeah,
people
a
that
lot of
don't-
people liked it. I thought
Yeah.
it was whatever.
Well, people who don't watch comic book, people who don't read comic books or
Mhm.
watch the animated series or anything like that, don't really follow. They like it. It's
Right.
it's one of those popcorn flicks you could throw on and you
Mhm.
can watch it with your kid and it's good.
Popcorn flicks.
But
Shooting the
at the
head.
same time, you can use that where you already pulled people in,
Right.
and you can use that to catapult the universe from
So
Shazam
I need to
and
watch-
Wonder Woman.
I need to watch Birds of Prey because I need to know, how much it's connected to the DCEU. Then I need to watch Wonder Woman because I want to, it's, like I said, is that going to be the end? Because like it seems like they're still trying to salvage the DCEU in some capacity by not recasting Harley Quinn, not recasting Wonder Woman, and keep so
Mhm.
that means that they're still part of that that storyline in some way or another. Granted, Wonder Woman is actually a prequel, so they could
Yes.
use it
But
as a way to retcon.
Yeah, you're right, because the next one that's coming out is based in the 80s.
84.
Yeah.
So they could use it as a retcon.
Yeah, and then like I said, Shazam can be their kind of their platform to catapult them.
Even like I said,
Yeah.
even Wonder Woman could
Yeah.
be their way out by going back in time and then retconning somehow.
Mhm.
But I don't know. We'll see. But then again, you have the Joker and you have the Batman, which hasn't come out, but is going to come out,
Mhm.
that are now their own separate thing.
Mhm.
It's already been established that they're not part of the DCEU.
the
and now-
the new Batman movie?
The new Batman movie, yeah.
Oh, it's not a
It's
part
not.
of it.
No, it's a
Okay.
standalone Batman movie, and it's so.
What
But
the
so
fuck,
I
DC?
I was seeing this video,
Yeah.
and they're saying how DC now is doing this thing where they're doing, instead of a shared universe, they're doing sort of like odes to genre flicks. Like the Joker was like a Martin Scorsese sort of like psychological feel, right?
Mhm.
They say that the Birds of Prey actually has a Tarantino feel to it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but that's what I say. And that the Batman is gonna be like a neo noir kind of detective feel to
Ah.
it, because it's gonna. I mean, but that's how the Dark Knight was. The Dark Knight was really a neo noir flick,
Hmm.
but that now DC, under the DC Studios.
I
Is
know.
that-
I'm just imagining like a kind of like a dark, gritty, like here, say what?
Well, yeah, well, neo. You know what neo means,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
It's in like an old but new looking.
Well, yeah, neo means new.
Yeah, yeah.
So neo noir. I don't know why it was.
Yeah. Yeah, like whenever you say neo for something that's
Neo,
old,
it means like
it's
a revival
yeah,
of
okay.
something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's like neo noir, like that movie I always talk about, Hell or High Water.
Oh.
They call that a neo western because it is like a western, but it takes place in like present time. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? So they
Mhm.
call it a neo western, which I thought was pretty cool because I didn't even know those genres even existed. I'm
Mhm.
like, man, I want to watch more neo westerns because I love westerns, but like you know, if you watch old westerns, sometimes they can be a little cheesy, you know, like they're kind of more for like coming from old Hollywood, you know. So you know, I definitely enjoy contemporary filmmaking more. But anyways, so I'm curious, like, to know, like, where's DC gonna go? Because I like DC. I love Batman. Yeah. I've even come around on Superman. I like Cavill as Superman, and I like the way they did him.
I think he's done.
I like the way they portrayed him in the DCEU, where they made him a little bit more human, and they made him, you know, a guy who was very conflicted, and he wasn't just this like Boy Scout who could do no wrong, you know.
I mean, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. I also like the Joker, the way, you know, the Joker movie. You know what I'm saying? And I'm also excited to see what Pattinson's gonna do with this new Batman movie. Mm-hmm. But you know, now that I think about it, like, they're pretty much doing what Christopher Nolan already did, which is like coming from Batman and Robin, which was like extra campy and like we're just gonna go super serious. That's kind of what they're doing with like coming off Justice League, which was pretty fucking campy.
Yeah.
And like, well, let's make it serious. Like, it's kind of they already did that already, but still, I'm curious to see who's directing the Batman.
The new one?
Yeah, the newest one.
Let's see. I'll check that out. In the meantime, does any?
So I'm just curious. Yeah, what do you think they're gonna do with the DCU? I'm curious because like they're doing, like I said, they're doing this thing where they're doing like standalones now, but then they're also having Wonder Woman and Birds of, you know, and Harley Quinn, who haven't been established as part of the DCU. They're keeping that going, you know. Also, too, I liked Will Smith.
Damn, if the live was still on, we could have asked that to the live.
Oh, yeah. I liked Will Smith as Deadshot, you know.
Try it, see if it goes on. Yeah, I heard that Will Smith and Harley Quinn were the best part of the Suicide Squad.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you guys could in the comments let us know what you guys think is gonna happen with the
subscribe.
DC universe. Because I mean, I'm not a big fan of DC.
Bell.
I'm not a big fan of DC, but I would like to see a DC universe, a successful one, one that makes sense. Not what we got now.
Yeah, well, you know, their only choice is to
Matt Reeves.
Keep Matt Reeves. Okay, I don't really know much about Matt Reeves. Yeah. What has Matt Reeves directed? Like, what is he known for?
Let me look him up.
So, I'm just curious to know what the future is. I was thinking about that the other day. I am a DC fan. I'm a Batman fan. I've always have been. It's hard not to be growing up in the 90s, especially coming off the animated series.
Yeah. Like, I'm not a huge fan, but I do have some love for Batman.
Like I said, I've even come around on Superman. I liked Deadshot. I even like Homegirl as Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot. I mean, not only is she amazing to look at, but I like the way she portrays Wonder Woman.
She does. She's a great Wonder Woman.
Who else? The only thing is, my buddy Sean, who is a huge DC fan, we were watching Justice League, and he made an interesting comment, and I think he thinks that they made a mistake casting, what's his name? Ezra Miller, the guy who does the Flash.
You want to try it on? I heard that. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I need to see it. But a lot of people like that.
Well, they say that they should have made him Wally West, because he has more of a Wally West persona.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Because Wally West,
he's kind of goofy and makes a lot of jokes.
For people who don't, well, explain it for people
Wally
who don't
West.
know.
Okay, so there's a bunch of Flashes. The first Flash ever was Jay Garrick, who came, I believe, in the Golden Age or the Silver Age. He was the first Flash, but he doesn't have the same origin as the Flash that we know today, with like the full red suit and this and that. And the mask. Sorry. Here. Barry Allen was the first Flash that we know as with the suit and the mask.
The whole red one.
And the whole Speed Force and all that came from Barry Allen. And so Barry Allen was the first Flash. Barry Allen is very much like a sort of Boy Scout, kind of very serious.
He was,
you know, kind of guy. Very almost like a Superman in terms of his demeanor.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
And then Wally West was his son or his nephew?
His
wasn't his son.
Because
Bart Allen is the son,
or
the grandson of Al. But Wally West was like the cousin or something.
What cousin or
I forget. But Wally West was the second, technically third Flash. Yeah. But if you're counting from Jay Garrick, then he's the third. But if you're just counting from Barry Allen, he was the second guy to take up the Barry Allen mantle. And Barry Allen was very much not this goofy sort of guy. He was more serious kind of thing. So Ezra Miller, he definitely has more of a Wally West demeanor.
But they have him as
Barry Allen, and it seems unfitting.
How young is he?
Well, first of all, Barry Allen's blonde.
Oh.
So I don't know. But, I mean, so was Aquaman.
Yeah.
And, that transition sort of works.
He's also white, right?
Yeah.
In the Arrowverse show, he's black.
Who?
Wally West.
Right. Well,
in the Flash show and the Arrowverse.
That I get because, they're trying to get
and
diversity.
I think in the new comic, the new 52, which is a comic book series from DC, I believe the new family lineage of Flashes are black after Barry Allen.
So Barry Allen
because they made Iris West black.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Again, a retcon. You know what I'm saying? Comics do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even talking about race. I'm just talking about demeanor, the way he plays the character. Ezra Miller plays it more as like a Wally West, and what they could have done is had him as Wally West, and then bring Barry Allen in later, with maybe the Flashpoint storyline, and then with the Flashpoint, because that has to do with time travel and everything, they could retcon anything they wanted, and then boom, fucking
That's
fuck
right.
the whole first phase of DCU.
That's right. They could do that.
And it would have made sense because
get in that fucking writer's room right now.
Hire me, DC. What are you doing?
So Wally West is his nephew.
Nephew. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was his
and
sidekick.
where is Barry Allen?
He was a sidekick as Kid Flash.
So Barry Allen just doesn't.
No. So what happened to Barry Allen?
No, I'm talking about the DCEU. Barry Allen just doesn't exist. Well, he does because Barry Allen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Barry
stupid.
Allen.
I forgot.
Yeah.
But still,
who's drinking here? Me.
Says he's getting to me. I'm delirious. I don't know. So I mean, again,
are we back live?
Hello, folks. My phone got
Hey, his phone overheated. But if you're just turning in,
we're about to wrap it up. Actually.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what's done is done.
Yeah.
What is the future? DC has seemed to deviated. It looks like they got two paths going. They got the standalones, and they have the DCEU that it seems they're still trying to maintain via Wonder Woman, via Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, this whole idea of this subject came to me because I was just confused. I'm like, what is DC doing? What they need to choose a path and stick to it, because that's been their downfall so far, is that they can't make up their fucking mind on who they want to be.
Well, let me see. Ash.
Man, fuck the live people.
Do you? No. Do you want to see a DC universe?
Oh my god.
So there it is.
You're right. I forget that, 90.
Yeah.
I saw, what was I watching?
Uh-huh.
I was watching a video and they were saying,
okay.
So I saw a video and they said, why is most entertainment average?
Uh-huh.
And they said, because most moviegoers, most entertainment goers are average. They just want average entertainment.
Exactly.
That doesn't really,
Which
challenge.
Is why Shazam did so well.
Yeah.
And why Shazam can be used to catapult the DC universe into where Marvel's at, or at least half of where Marvel's
I suppose. I wasn't a big fan of Shazam. And also, too, when I saw it, it had already been out, and it had been getting a lot of praise. So when I saw it, I was kind of like, that was whatever.
Usually that fucks up my
that was kind of what I thought it was gonna blow me away, Anyways, well, I guess that'll do it for us here at the Rev and Philo Show. Thanks for everyone who tuned in live. This was kind of a last minute thing.
Can they hear us? Can you guys hear us? Somebody say yes.
You're like so obsessed with the audience.
What? The audience is that's what's keeping us going. What
is it really?
About? Yeah.
I thought I was keeping us going. So just kidding. Well, let us know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit that bell, and let us know what you think about what the future of the DC.
Fuck Rev.
Hashtag fuck the Rev.
All right.
Hashtag retcon the Rev.
All right, later, guys.
All right, see you guys next time.
Peace.